Hey, everybody, I'm Jane, and you're listening to the Medium Curious Podcast, the show that wants you to know there are millions and millions and millions of channels to choose from. And as a little tuner, you get to decide what you're tuned into. What do y'all think about that? Because today, what I want to talk about here on this Sunday solo session, I think that's where we landed with the cool name for these little solos, is channelers and channel material, and how, for me, it's been such a big source of inspiration, information as well, but also like how incredible it is to me that it's become not quite, but almost mainstream. And so for any listeners who don't know much about channeled information or channelers, I'll take a quick second for some ABCs. So the way this works, and we have actually had many channelers on this Medium Curious podcast. If new listeners would like to go back, definitely check out Jamie Butler's episode. And of course, I'll link all of these in the show notes. And also Mary Greasy is a channeler. And all these creatives that we've had on, channelers. Sarah channels her guides. I myself have been channeling these entities called the Walters. And I'll say more about that in a second. But for now, I'm hoping to just kind of do like I said, a little ABC's, a little high level of the channelers that I'm familiar with and that have had such a profound effect on me. Gosh, how many years ago is that now? We're talking about 30 years ago, y'all. When I was in my mid-20s, I stayed with my aunt and uncle. They, super woo, like woo to the woo, this gal, my aunt. And the interesting thing about her, she married into the family the very minute, almost to the minute, when my father died. And that always felt really interesting to me, because, well, it is interesting, right? Like, she married my mom's brother, literally the weekend that we held my father's funeral. So obviously it was a super devastating time and really terrible. But interestingly, about 3 months before that, my sweet dad was in the hospital, although nobody thought he was going to die. Like he was really a ridiculous optimist and such a positive dude. And he's like in the hospital and he's like, I'm not going to die. I'm totally fine. Meanwhile, lupus is what he was suffering from. Apparently had a different opinion, but he would say like, nope, the wolf, meaning like lupus, the wolf is not going to get me. Wolf is not going to get me. So anyway, I was sitting with him in like April of, he died in 1991. So it was April of that year. I was in college and I was just really torn because I was having a real hard time in the acting school where I was. And I felt this big pull to move to the West Coast. And my aunt and uncle were, in the process of planning the wedding for July of that year. And he said to me, and to be fair, I don't know how many steroids and other pain pills he was on and like kind of what was flowing into his veins there in the hospital room. But he said with sort of some shiny eyes, he said, I think you're supposed to go out there and be with Dan and Carol. And that's my aunt and uncle. And that really played in my mind several months later when he crossed to the other side. And I had to decide if I was going to actually make that move to the West Coast, even though this terrible tragedy had just occurred. Now, I tell you all of that backstory because my aunt, like I said, who married, into the family July 5th, which was the day of his funeral, is very into all of this material. She's the one who taught me how to channel my guides. And the summer of 95, I think I had just finished college. And I stayed with her and my uncle for a couple of months. It was sort of like this in-between time. I had just graduated and I was trying to figure out what to do, where I was going to live, and how to pursue my dreams of being a filmmaker and such. And in their basement, which is kind of where I was staying, and it was like a really nice built out basement, there were probably, 50 to 60 new age books, like lined up, like just all lined up in all of their shades of pink and purple and turquoise, And I will never forget reading Seth Speaks, which was a book by channeled by Jane Roberts. And I found the Seth energy to be absolutely gorgeous. Like, it felt true to me. It felt helpful to me. I could feel this big difference when I was reading the books. And that book in particular, Seth Speaks, I feel like is laid out really, really well. Like, the publishers did a really good job because, and I'm going to pick it up again because I have, I don't have a copy in my current life. But I'm going to get it again because there's something about the transmission that comes through that book. I pulled a quote, from Seth for y'all that was, again, channeled by Jane Roberts. And here's the cool thing about Jane Roberts. Like, she was channeling, this was like back in like 68, 69 that her first book started to get published. So this was like a long damn time ago, y'all. But I did want to share one quote by Seth. And this is from The Eternal Validity of the Soul is the name of the book. There are like, gosh, I don't even know, 8 to 10 books that she channeled using with, Seth channeled through Jane. True spirituality is a thing of joy and of the earth and has nothing to do with a fake adult dignity. It has nothing to do with long words and sorrowful faces. It has to do with the dance of consciousness that is within you and the sense of spiritual adventure that is within your hearts. Let me say that second line again. It has to do with the dance of consciousness that is within you and the sense of spiritual adventure that is within your hearts. Come on, right? Isn't that gorge? The sense of spiritual adventure. And I also love the dancing consciousness, right? The dance of consciousness. And I feel like that quote does a nice job of kind of encapsulating how I feel about this gig, this work, this kind of new phase of life that I've been sitting in here for the last couple of years. And that what we're trying to promote here on Medium Curious is like, y'all, this is joyful. This is no sorrowful faces. This is not like, oh no, we're in trouble. This is like, good news, team. Like, this whole reality, this whole place can be just ridiculously joyful and filled with magic. And my God, did I have a magical week. Like, I could regale you with stories of all the magic that came across my desk this week. But to stay on topic, I also want to talk a little bit about, like I said, Bashar, who is channeled by Daryl Anka. 40 years Daryl Anka has been channeling Bashar. 40 years, y'all. Isn't that crazy? And, same, right? Like, Seth and Jane Roberts was so brave. She and her husband, pulling this information kind of onto the earth plane and like risking all of what one risks in order to tell the truth about the fact that they're channeling, this energy from another place. For some reason, I would have to, I kind of feel right now like Bashar has become a little bit of like an Instagram star, I mean, here that Daryl's been like channeling him for 40 years, but meanwhile, I think there's this like huge interest now. And of course, Next Level Soul, the podcast and YouTube channel, has brought a wonderful awareness of channels, and Bashar and all these other folks who are longtime channels are starting to, be seen, really seen, like really, really seen and really heard. So anyway, I find that very exciting. But I brought you a couple of quotes from Bashar here. And this is something that I think we've all heard, anyone following a spiritual path at all, which is, you are a non-physical consciousness that is experiencing physical reality. And the way I think it's said a lot is, you are not a body, you're a soul that's experiencing physical reality. Like, you are a soul in a human body. So the other thing that I have for you is from Bashar. You are here on earth at this time because you choose to be. You are created in the image of the Creator. Your essential essences is unconditional love, and the experience of ecstasy of your birthright is your birthright. And the experience of ecstasy is your birthright. Right? It's kind of very aligned with what Seth also just gave us. The highest purpose of your life is to be yourself to the best of your ability and live each moment as fully as possible. And I have to say, that's been kind of my like guiding star the last I don't know, 6 months in particular. And that is something that I've been working with, that energy of like, how can I just rock it out? Like, how can I just Jane it up right now to be myself to the best of my ability and live each moment as fully as possible? And, again, I think we talk about that a lot here. It's like, Sarah walking her kids to school and like breathing in the trees and looking around at the faces of the other parents, and all the ways she describes, like when she's like walking down the steps to take out the trash and she suddenly gets like this surge of like happiness. That's the stuff, right? And that's what I've been working with too. I'm like, oh no, I'm not going to make dinner because I have to, and that sucks. It's like, I get to make dinner. I get to solve the problem of what the heck we're going to eat. I get to do the laundry. And more exciting than that is I get to open a mic and start talking to y'all tonight about what's on my heart. So many good guides that have, like I said, come into the light. So much cool material. So this is something I write about a lot on my Substack, and I know a lot of y'all have met me over there on Substack. And Substack is important because we have a Medium Curious podcast Substack, and that's a really nice place to meet us and hang out with us. We put up a post every other week that includes materials about, some of our guests and some of the stuff that we're publishing here on the podcast. But I have a personal Substack that I had started some time ago. It's called Magic Everywhere. And, there's a section of the Walters, which is these entities that are like a Bashar or like an Abraham, who I haven't talked about very much, but a lot of y'all know Abraham Hicks. Esther Hicks is the channel, and Esther and Jerry Hicks, when Jerry was still on Earth, would channel Abraham. But Esther has become and has been the voice of Abraham, and they are always talking about manifesting. And obviously, I just jumped over to Abraham for a second before we come back to the Walters, but let's talk about Abraham for a second, because that stuff is awesome. So I'll do a whole Sunday solo about manifestation, because that's just one of my favorite topics. But I have one more quote for you from Esther Hicks. And I love it so much because, as y'all know, I'm an animal communicator and I'm obsessed with animals, especially as spirit helpers. So here's what she says, or Abraham said, "If you'll just sit and pet your cat or somebody's cat, find a cat for God's sakes, find a cat or anything furry and let it train you into a frequency that will cause you to allow enlightenment." Okay, here's why I got excited about this quote. It's because so often I will be doing a reading and the spirit, whoever, the spirit communicator or even the spirit guides, they'll tell me, they'll be like, tell this person to get a cat or tell this person to get a dog. And I'm always like shelter dog? What, why, what is this promotion that we're doing here with the animals? And what they've told me, and this totally aligns with what I just shared from Abraham, is that animals run a higher frequency. Like they are running a whole different thing. Well, they're running unconditional love a lot of the time. And cats in particular have the ability, and this is just what I've heard in my readings, is it's like if you have a cat in the room or a dog in the room, it's like spirits, like your sweethearts on the other side, or maybe even these other energies have an easier time getting in because that dog or cat or bird or whatever has raised the frequency up of the human that's associated with it or is near it. So I loved finding this quote. It just made me so happy because it's genuinely what I've heard over and over again is like, well, your dad wants you to get that dog you're thinking about. And it's really fun because a lot of times they were thinking about a dog and now their dad on the other side is like, get the dog. But again, part of it is because now dad can come closer. Dad can hang out in the kitchen with you because the dog is there. Does that make sense? I hope I'm making sense, y'all. I know I'm a little bit hopping around with all this channeling stuff. And I do want to close here in a sec, but I do want to just offer one more thing. This is from the Walters, and this is the entities that I channel. And they were talking about the vibration of love, which Sarah and I talked about a couple weeks ago. And I think I had gone to them right around the time of last fall. And I was saying, gosh, this is a really tough time. The frequencies are really hard. And so here's what they said. So let's see, how should I start it? It's this, I'm kind of jumping in the middle of this whole download, but this is a time of broadcasting on the channel, on the station, at the frequency you choose. Because there is a fear frequency running. It is low, it is very hard, and it is very easy to drop into it. And that is what has been pushed. It is some people's desire to have you on that low frequency. Instead, you choose love. You come up here. Love. Do you feel it? Jane says, yes, I do. I love it when they talk about me in third person like that. Like it's my voice saying it, but they're like, Jane says. So with that frequency, I'm back to the Walters. So with that frequency, work with that in your meditations as you walk, as you stop, as you listen. That is key, dear ones. That is key. You must stop, listen, stop, drop, and listen. And so you're able to discern what frequency you are broadcasting from this heart of yours. Therefore, dear ones, we will bring it home by saying, find it in your silence, in your peace, in your silence, in your peace, in your silence. In your peace, find that love frequency. Here it is. Find it. And they were sending that frequency through me at that point, and it goes on from there. And I will link this too in the chat. I've got the full transmission there on my Substack. Here it is. Find it. And so they were sending that frequency through me, and it was actually making my heart hurt. Like my heart couldn't even quite handle that frequency of love. And you might be able to hear in the background, my dog is complaining because she hasn't had her dinner yet. So I think it's time for me to close, but I will say just honored that y'all have listened to me here tonight, today, this morning, whenever you're listening for the Sunday solo sessions. And I do have a couple of quick announcements for y'all. So very excited. We've had this really fun time doing the Claire Club this fall. A bunch of really extraordinary people have been developing, and it's just such sweet vibes twice a week with the people that joined us this fall. We're going to do it again starting in January, and it's going to again run for 6 weeks. All the dates are on mediumcurious.com, so you can find all the information there. So we're going to run a whole new session of Claire Club, but also between now and then, I'm excited to tell you that for our listeners, Lauren Robertson's Platform Perfection, our listeners are getting 10% off. So all you have to do is use the code MEDIUM when checkout, and you can find the link both in our show notes here, but also on mediumcurious.com. Lauren Robertson is that amazing medium that we interviewed quite some time ago. She's the author of Medium and Manolos. She's awesome. And we're actually going to be having her on the show again here soon. Looking forward to that. She's teaching this platform course. So 10% off for our listeners. Yay. So yeah. And then also I will put in one more plug for the course that I'm running for the next 6 months. As I mentioned before many times on this podcast, it's called Higher Calling is the overarching course title, but I am running this really fun group for 6 months inside a container, and it's called Wonder House. And we just started last week. It's already been an absolute blast. Such incredible souls have joined me there. And I do have room for a few more people. I'm not closing the doors till the end of the month. So if you are interested in Wonder House, I will drop the link in there. And it's very much along the lines of what we talked about here. Like, how can you be the highest expression of yourself? How do you run that frequency in this earth? And that's what I'm teaching in that class. All right, my friends, with that, I think we will go ahead and close. I'm sending you so much love right here on that vibration of love. And I can't wait to see you soon. Of course, subscribe, give us a rating, share this with a friend. Keep Medium Curious humming, because that's exactly how we grow this podcast, is with your help, dear ones. So with that, I'll leave you, and I'm sending you so much love. Okay. See you later. Bye.
Very Soul is our sponsor for Medium Curious. Jane and I are both Very Soul mediums.
Oh, yes, we are. Verysoul.com, y'all. Inspired by spirit, guided by love, and brought to life by mediums.